opening greeting for World News Greenty, your trusted source for fast, accurate, and unbiased international news. Here we bring you the hottest global updates, in-depth analysis, and diverse perspectives on the world's most pressing issues. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story. Thank you for choosing World News Greenty.
Here are the highlights of the report. Here is a summary of Russian attacks on Ukraine from mayo de 2024 to 27, 2025, marking one of the most intense airstrikes since the war began. Conflict between Yemen's Houthi forces and Israel from mayo de 2024 to 27, 2025, India and Pakistan quietly warm up for the next match.
Summary of Russian attacks on Ukraine. Largest airstrike since the start of the war. Russia launched a massive coordinated attack using 298 drones and 69 cruise missiles. Over 30 cities and villages across Ukraine were targeted, including the capital, Kyiv. At least 12 people were killed, including 3 children in northern Ukraine. Dozens more were injured. Ukraine's air defense intercepted most of the drones and missiles. However, falling debris caused fires and serious damage in residential areas of Kyiv. May 25 to 26, second major wave of attacks. Overnight from May 25th to the morning of May 26, Russia launched another wave, 355 Shahed drones and 9 cruise missiles. It marked the second largest airstrike since the war began. At least 12 more people were killed and many others wounded. President Volodymyr Zelensky criticized the international community, especially the United States, for remaining silent. He stated that this silence encourages President Vladimir Putin to further escalate the conflict. May 26 to 27. Continued strikes and widening destruction. Russian attacks continued in eastern and northeastern Ukraine, including the city of Kramatorsk. 3 airstrikes in Kramatorsk left over 850 residents without power. From May 24th to 26, Russia launched a total of 903 drones and 92 missiles, causing significant human and infrastructure damage. Current situation and international response. Russia has seized 3 more villages in the Donetsk and Sumy regions. Ukraine is facing increasing military pressure on multiple fronts. Western countries, including Germany, the UK, France, and the US, have lifted restrictions on the range of weapons supplied to Ukraine. This move allows Kyiv to strike military targets inside Russian territory. Russia condemned the move, calling it dangerous and a threat to regional security. Ukraine's response, May 24 to 27, 2025. Military and defensive measures, strengthening air defense and launching drone counterattacks. In response to Russia's UAV and missile strikes, Ukraine intensified its air defense systems and conducted drone strikes against Russian military targets. President Zelensky vowed a symmetrical response, declaring that Moscow must feel the consequences of its actions. Developing and producing domestic weapons. With Western weapon supplies falling short, Ukraine accelerated the development and production of homegrown drones and cruise missiles. Diplomatic efforts and global advocacy. President Zelensky called on the West for more support. He warned that continued silence would only embolden Russia. Under pressure, Western allies, including Germany, the UK, France, and the US, removed limits on the range of weapons sent to Ukraine, enabling Kyiv to hit strategic targets on Russian soil. Defense capacity enhancement. Ukraine is ramping up domestic production of drones and cruise missiles to strengthen both offensive and defensive capabilities. The country is also pursuing international defense technology partnerships with European nations. These collaborations aim to develop and produce advanced weapon systems tailored to modern battlefield needs. Houthi missile attacks on Israel, a timeline of escalation, key developments by date. 225, the Houthi forces launched a ballistic missile targeting Ben Gurion Airport near Tel Aviv. Israel's missile defense systems successfully intercepted the missile. However, falling debris landed in the Hebron Hills region, triggering alarms across central and southern Israel, including Jerusalem and the Dead Sea area. May 26, 2025, no new attacks from the Houthis were reported. However, U.S. airstrikes on Houthi positions in Yemen reportedly caused significant civilian casualties, further worsening the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the region. May 27, 2025, Israel intercepted 2 additional ballistic missiles fired by the Houthis from Yemen in separate incidents. This marked the 6th attempted missile strike against Israel within a single week. Houthi strategy and objectives. The Houthi movement claimed that the missile strikes were acts of solidarity with the Palestinian people in Gaza. They threatened to impose a naval blockade on the Israeli port of Haifa and warned of future attacks targeting key strategic locations such as international airports and critical infrastructure. Israel's response. Israel launched retaliatory airstrikes on Houthi-controlled positions in Yemen. Targets included the ports of Hodeidah and Salif, sites allegedly used to launch missiles and drones. Missile defense systems such as Arrow and David's Sling were activated and deployed effectively to counter threats from Yemen. Humanitarian impact. The airstrikes conducted by both Israel and the United States have resulted in significant civilian casualties. The humanitarian crisis in Yemen has deepened. Over 4.5 million people have been displaced, and an estimated 17 million are facing severe food insecurity. Latest updates as of May 28, 2025. Continued Houthi missile attacks on Israel. On May 25th, a ballistic missile targeting Ben Gurion Airport was intercepted, but caused alarm across central Israel. On May 27th, 2 more Houthi missiles were intercepted in separate incidents, marking the 6th such attack in just 1 week. The Houthis declared these strikes as part of their solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. Israeli airstrikes on Yemen. In response, Israel launched multiple airstrikes against Houthi infrastructure, including the ports of Hodeidah and Salif. These operations aimed to neutralize missile and UAV capabilities. However, reports confirm civilian casualties, further complicating Yemen's humanitarian disaster. Ongoing humanitarian crisis in Yemen. Over 4.5 million displaced, around 17 million people lack access to adequate food. International organizations warn of a looming catastrophe if the conflict continues. Israel's defensive measures. Israel continues to rely on its multi-layered missile defense systems, including Arrow and David's Sling, to counter threats from Yemen. Despite successful interceptions, the frequency and range of Houthi missile launches indicate a growing threat to Israeli national security. India and Pakistan quietly gear up for the next confrontation. Rising tensions following clashes. From May 6th, 5 days of intense fighting escalated tensions between India and Pakistan. India launched Operation Sindoor in response to the terrorist attack in Kashmir back in April. Meanwhile, Pakistan promoted General Asim Munir to Field Marshal, recognizing his leadership in the country's defensive campaign. Both nations warned of the threat of nuclear war if the situation escalates further, yet affirmed their readiness for future confrontations. Arms race in tech and new tactics. India is preparing to deploy AI-powered drone swarms for precision strikes in Pakistan-controlled Kashmir, an effort to reduce reliance on manned aircraft following the loss of several jets, including the Rafale. Pakistan, in turn, may counter with low-cost armed drones and deploy shoulder-fired anti-air missiles through its allied forces in Kashmir. Both countries are ramping up arms purchases from international partners. India sources mainly from the US, France, and Russia, while Pakistan relies heavily on China. 5th-gen fighter dilemma. Despite India's advantage in rearmament through Western partnerships, Pakistan's JF-17 and J-10C fighters have challenged the dominance of Western tech. A Pakistani J-10C, equipped with a PL-15 missile, reportedly downed an Indian Rafale, a surprise to many defense analysts. Nuclear war on the horizon? Both India and Pakistan are nuclear armed, any escalation risks triggering a devastating nuclear conflict. Still, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has firmly stated, India will not bow to nuclear blackmail. As of now, India and Pakistan remain in a high-alert state, a fragile and dangerous new normal, with armed and nuclear conflict always looming. India's strategic moves, May 25th, 27th, 2025. Military buildup and defense tech development. On May 27th, India officially approved its 5th-generation stealth fighter program, the MCA project. Led by the Aeronautical Development Agency, this two-engine stealth jet aims to modernize the Air Force and reduce reliance on aging Soviet-era aircraft. India plans to partner with both state-owned and private defense firms to ensure local production, decreasing dependence on traditional contractors like HAL. Military operations and border security. The Indian Border Security Force launched coordinated strikes on Pakistani outposts in Jammu and Kashmir, including a Lashkar-e-Taiba base in Luni, reportedly housing 18 to 20 militants. On May 25th, Jammu and Kashmir Governor Manoj Sinha issued a stern warning: any future provocation from Pakistan will be met with a strong and decisive response. Economic and diplomatic pressure. India suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, disrupting Pakistan's water supply and triggering a water crisis. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has called for direct dialogue with India to resolve the issue. India has also halted bilateral trade, including key exports like cotton and medicine, further worsening Pakistan's already fragile economy. Strong rhetoric from Indian leadership. During speeches in Gujarat on May 26th and 27th, Prime Minister Modi referred to Pakistan as a terrorist state, warning, "My weapons are always ready if Pakistan continues supporting terrorism." He reiterated India's stance: "We will never surrender to nuclear threats." Honoring India's armed forces. The IPL 2025 closing ceremony, scheduled for June 3rd at Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, will honor the heroes of Operation Sindoor. Military bands and top Indian military officials will take part in the tribute. Let me know if you'd like me to export this in a subtitle-ready format.
Thank you for watching World News Greenty. We truly appreciate your time and support. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more global updates. See you in the next video.